Have you ever wondered what truly makes a community strong? In the quiet town of Sela Hollow, fear took hold as a ruthless gang ruled the streets, leaving everyone too afraid to act. But one woman, 68-year-old Serena Walker, stood her ground, calm, steady, and unshakable. As a veteran with a lifetime of experience and courage, she reminded us that true strength lies in unity, purpose, and the determination to protect what matters most. This isn't just a story about overcoming challenges. It's about rediscovering the power we hold when we stand together. They called themselves the Crimson Ravens, the most feared motorcycle gang in Wyoming. For months, they had terrorized the town of Sela Hollow, claiming the streets as their own. The local businesses paid for protection, the police were outmatched, and the people lived in quiet fear. No one dared to stand up to them until they crossed Serena Walker. To them, she was just another 68-year-old shopkeeper, a harmless woman running a small hardware store on Main Street, an easy target. But when they set fire to the American flag outside her store, they made the gravest mistake of their lives. What Gabriel Kane, the Crimson Ravens leader, didn't know was that this quiet, unassuming woman was a decorated Gulf War veteran. She had spent her younger years leading missions through war zones and saving soldiers under impossible circumstances. And now, with one phone call, she would summon an army of over 150 veterans who owed her their lives. Serena's daily ritual of raising the flag each morning had become a cherished routine for her since retiring from active service. Her hands, weathered but steady, handled the ropes with precision as the first rays of sunlight illuminated the stars and stripes. To Serena, the flag wasn't just fabric, it was a testament to everything she and her comrades had fought for. Across the street, Margaret Olson wiped down the counters at her diner, watching Serena as she did every morning. Margaret had run the Hollow Diner for 25 years and had always admired Serena's quiet strength. "Coffee's ready, Serena," Margaret called out as Serena tied off the lines. "Don't let it get cold," Serena smiled faintly. "Some things take precedence, Margaret, you know that." Inside the diner, locals like Thomas Ray, the mechanic, and Beth Avery, the town librarian, gathered at their usual spots. The conversation was subdued, the air thick with unease, as the distant rumble of motorcycles echoed through the streets. Moments later, a group of bikers roared past the hardware store. Their leather vests bore the emblem of the Crimson Ravens, a dark bird rising from crimson flames, wings spread in a threatening arc. One of the bikers, a hulking man with a scar running down his face, sneered as he deliberately kicked over the sidewalk display of garden tools outside Serena's store. Margaret's hands trembled as she refilled coffee cups. "They're getting worse, Serena. Gab was in here yesterday, saying they expect free meals from now on. Said it's for protection." Serena's jaw tightened, but she kept her composure. "Protection from what?" she asked quietly, though the edge in her voice was unmistakable. Before Margaret could respond, the bell above the diner's door chimed, and Sheriff Owen Tate stepped in. His uniform was crisp, but his eyes carried the weight of too many battles he couldn't win. "Morning, Serena, Margaret, Beth." He nodded at each in turn before settling at the counter. "You hear about Baker Place?" he asked Serena, who had just taken her seat. "Broken windows, vandalized property," Serena guessed. She'd seen enough to know the pattern. Owen sighed. "Worse. They trashed the whole shop, left one of their feathers behind." He motioned to a table where the gang's calling card, a crimson feather, sat in a plastic evidence bag. Beth frowned. "It's the same as the pharmacy and the gas station last month. Why hasn't anyone done anything?" Owen's face hardened. "No evidence that'll stick, and folks are too scared to testify. They think they're alone." Serena stirred her coffee, her expression unreadable. "People aren't alone, Sheriff. They just need to remember who they are." Through the diner's window, the bikers circled back to Serena's hardware store. The scarred man stepped off his bike and kicked over another display. "Better clean that up, Grandma," he shouted, his voice dripping with mockery. "Wouldn't want anyone to get hurt." Margaret froze, watching Serena. "Frankie," she whispered, using the nickname from their younger days. "They'll be back." Serena stood, placing money on the counter. "Of course, they'll be back," she said calmly. "Men like that don't stop until someone makes them." She walked out of the diner, her posture straight and steady as she crossed the street. The bikers revved their engines, laughing, as Serena ignored them, picking up the scattered tools with deliberate, unhurried movements. Inside the diner, Margaret's hand shook as she reached for the phone. Beth placed a hand on hers. "Don't," she said softly. "Serena knows what she's doing." Later that evening, Serena sat in her office, an old photograph in her hands. The picture showed her younger self in fatigues, standing beside a group of soldiers. Each face was worn with exhaustion but alive with camaraderie. Her hand lingered on the image of a man she hadn't seen in years, Major Eric Callahan. Below the photo sat a slip of paper with a phone number, faded but legible. Serena hesitated for only a moment before picking up the phone. "Major Callahan," a voice answered after 2 rings. "Eric, it's Serena Walker." A pause, then a gruff laugh. "Damn, Walker, didn't expect to hear from you. What's going on?" "Need a favor," Serena said, her tone steady, but the weight of her words carried through. "Remember Kandahar? You said if I ever needed backup, all I had to do was call." The line went quiet before Eric spoke again, his voice firm. "Where and when?" "Silver Hollow, tomorrow. Bring everyone you can." "Copy that," Eric said. "You hold tight, we're coming." Serena hung up, her resolve unwavering. Outside, the Crimson Ravens were gathering, their numbers growing. She could hear their engines echoing through the night, a low, menacing growl that sent shivers through the quiet town. But Serena's mind was clear. She wasn't afraid. She had faced worse. By dawn, the first riders began to arrive, not bikers but veterans, their motorcycles gleaming under the morning sun. They wore leather vests bearing patches from conflicts across the globe: Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan. Men and women who had seen the worst the world had to offer and come through stronger. They greeted Serena with nods of respect, no words needed. Eric Callahan arrived in the lead, his imposing figure unchanged by the years. "You've got quite the welcome committee here, Walker," he said, dismounting. Serena gave a rare smile. "Figured you'd bring the best. We've got a town to protect." The veterans quickly set to work, transforming Silver Hollow into a fortified position. They coordinated with Sheriff Tate, who watched in awe as his small town became a tactical stronghold. Roadblocks were set up, key positions secured, and every move was calculated with military precision. Serena's store became the command center, maps and radios covering the counters where tools had once been displayed. Margaret brought coffee and sandwiches for the veterans, her nerves slowly replaced with hope. "Are you sure this will work?" she asked Eric as he reviewed their plans. Eric's expression was calm but serious. "We're not just going to stop them, ma'am. We're going to show them what real strength looks like." The Crimson Ravens made their move at sunset, roaring down Main Street with Gabriel Kane leading the charge. His confident sneer faltered as he saw the veterans lined up, their presence an unspoken challenge. Serena stood at the forefront, her posture unyielding. Gabriel dismounted, his hand resting on the knife at his belt. "This is your army, Grandma," he taunted. "Bunch of old soldiers playing hero?" Serena didn't flinch. "This is a town, Gabriel, not a playground for cowards." Gabriel's face darkened. "You don't get it, do you? This is my town now. I make the rules." "Not anymore," Serena said, her voice low but carrying the weight of every battle she'd fought. "You don't know the first thing about respect, but you're about to learn." The tension snapped as the Ravens surged forward. But the veterans were ready. The biker chaos was met with discipline, their brute force countered with strategy. In minutes, the street was transformed into a battlefield, but the Ravens were no match for the veterans' experience and unity. One by one, they fell back, their confidence shattered. Gabriel found himself surrounded, his lieutenants subdued. Serena stepped forward, her gaze locked on his. "This ends now. You leave, or you answer to us." For the first time, Gabriel hesitated. He looked around at his defeated gang, then back at Serena. His bravado crumbled. "You'll regret this," he spat before retreating to his bike. "No," Serena replied, her voice steady. "You will." As the Ravens retreated, the town erupted in applause. The people of Sila Hollow emerged from their homes, their fear replaced with newfound courage. Margaret hugged Serena tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You did it," she whispered. Serena shook her head. "We did it together." In the days that followed, the veterans stayed to help rebuild, their presence a reminder that truth comes from unity and purpose. The Crimson Ravens were gone, But the bonds forged in those tense hours remained. Every morning, as Serena raised the flag outside her store, it flew higher and prouder than ever, a testament to the town's resilience and the power of standing together. The story of Serena Walker reminds us that true strength lies not in force, but in unity, purpose, and the courage to stand firm in the face of adversity. Whether it's a challenge in your community or your personal life, remember, you are never truly alone. If this story inspired you, share it with your family, friends, or loved ones. Together, we can spread the powerful message of courage, resilience, and the strength of standing together.